My name is Dean Hollands, and I'm a former Detective Chief Inspector with Surrey Police, having served 26 and a half years. I attended a few online meetings with Manna at the various workshops that she did, and a lot of what she said really resonated with me in terms of my PTSD. I actually went, it was 10 years undiagnosed with PTSD. And when it was acknowledged, I started going through various therapies. I got to the point where there was so much going on in my head. I didn't know I had PTSD. My force medical officer had made a note in my file that I had PTSD, but he hadn't shared that with me. So I went through a 10-year period where things were happening to me internally, which I kind of looked at as being normal. But my family were recognising that there were problems and difficulties with me. And I ploughed on, because all I was really concerned with was I wanted to do the best I possibly could in my career, and I didn't want anything to stop me. So I developed some really unhealthy coping mechanisms, which my supervisors didn't pick up on. I was a constable at the time. So that was back in 1992. I was still young in my service. I'd only had a couple of years in service. And I got to the point where I just woke up one morning and said, enough's enough. I can't do this anymore. There was just so much going on in my head that I couldn't process, and I couldn't share with anybody, and I didn't understand it. And I sat. I'll always remember it was a wet Friday morning, and I sat down. I was on an early shift, so I sat down. I was having a cup of tea at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I was the only one in the house, and I thought, this is it, I can't do this anymore. Today's the day, I'm going to end it all today. And I sat there working out how I was going to do it, what that looked like. And I remember looking out into the garden, and it was horrible, and it was wet, and it was cold, and I sat there, and I just kept going, processing what I was going to do, what I was going to do. And I fell asleep. And I'd only not long gone up, so I fell asleep. And when I woke up, it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was a bright, sunny afternoon. And I don't know what possessed me, but I just picked the phone up, phoned my occupational health team up and said, well, I just cried down the phone. I said, I need help. If I don't get help now, I'm going to do something I really, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my own life. And that was really the start of that particular journey. But it was only the start because at that point I got what they felt was the most appropriate treatment. So they sent me. I was seeing a psychiatrist. I had various psychologists that I was seeing. I probably went through 3 psychologists, all trying to piece together what was wrong with me. And none of them linked it back to the fact that I'd experienced this life-threatening experience whilst on duty. And I had a period of work, 6 months, came back to work, light duties, the usual sort of police procedural things to do. And I picked up my career, I rebadged myself, and I ploughed on again. It wasn't another 5 years passed before I was back in that situation again. And I broke down again. And I went through more psychologists, 2 more psychologists at that point, and various other sort of therapies that they wanted me to have a look at. And none of it worked. It was like going through the motions. And I'd come away from it thinking, oh, it must just be me. I must just be broken that much that none of their techniques, none of the interventions that they're putting in place are going to work for me because I'm just broken. And that's my life. And I've got to deal with that. And there was lots more going on domestically for me. It was having a huge impact on a number of relationships that I had at the time with my wife and my family. So I carried on in service. That would have been a 15-year period. So I carried on carrying this trauma, because I had various facets of PTSD. It wasn't just one thing. It was 3 or 4 different strands of PTSD. The not sleeping, the night terrors, sudden startle syndrome. And I just carried on living with it. I know, as I say, I developed these really bad coping mechanisms. And one of those was just to throw myself into work. So people say, well done, I was getting promoted up through the ranks. I was doing degrees, I was doing promotion exams, all sorts of things. And people patted me on the back saying, well done. But what they didn't understand was that it was my PTSD that was driving me. So I didn't have to think about it. I was putting all my effort and attention into something else, just to alleviate the difficulties I was going through. So fast forward, I retired, 26.5 years service, not because of my PTSD, but because I had former military service and I transferred my pension across. So I retired with a full pension, no problems at all. And then 6 years later, I came across, as I say, Manna in a couple of workshops. And I thought, she just had this incredible way about her. And I just connected. I barely said a few words there, and I connected. And I thought, what she says makes a lot of sense. And she unpacked it in such a way that I could understand it and I could visualize it. And I was listening to these stories, the case studies that she'd been doing. I think it's incredible, but it was very similar to the things I've heard previously from other people that suffered from PTSD. I thought, well, what's the difference? What's Manna capable of doing that all these psychologists and other people that I've been to see and all the medication that I had to take didn't resolve any of my issues? So what was it? So I became curious. So I reached out to Manna and said, look, I wonder if we could have a chat. And we had a couple of chats, and she said, I can help you. And I was like, okay, that's good. That's what I want. And she said, this is what I specialise. And she explained to me what she did. She went through things. And I started having some sessions with Manna. And the very first session we had, it was so powerful. It was incredible. She asked me questions in a way that I've never been asked questions before, in a very safe and environment, in a very trusting way. And I just opened up to her in a way that I wasn't able to open up to anybody else before over the best part of just over 30 years. And it was just incredible. And we tackled the various issues that I was experiencing within my issues with PTSD. And one by one, over a period of 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 sessions, I should say, we just eliminated them. And it was incredible. They were there, but then they had a real powerful impact on me. I mean, if I hear a siren going off, it would take me right back to that moment where I was in trouble. That doesn't happen anymore. When I see the images that I've seen before, I have no emotion attached to them. They're there, and that's it. And they're fleeting, and I know I move them on. Whereas in the past, they were just there constantly, despite, as I say, the help that I've been given previously. It's just incredible. She's just got this incredible way about her that she will take you to a place you might not want to go, but you'll go. I went, and it's just incredible. It was just a really powerful experience, and it's very emotional. It's very sometimes it can be quite draining physically, but in the hours and days and weeks afterwards, the feeling of elation, feeling of just being that weight lifted off of your shoulder. You know, and I'm not held captive or slave to those emotions and feelings that I was experiencing. It's just incredible. I'm a much happier person. I'm a much more contented person. My family have seen an incredibly different side of me. I'm more relaxed. I'm definitely less stressed than I was before. And I feel I can live a fuller life now, because beforehand, as I say, I was haunted by the PTSD, and I felt there was no cure for me. But now I can do the things that I want to do, knowing that I'm not going to hit that wall. It's not going to bring me down in the future. Yeah, I'll remember it. It will happen. It's there. I can't get rid of it completely, but it doesn't affect me anymore. It means nothing to me. It's just one of those. It happened to me in life. It's one of those experiences, as much as a really good positive experience was. So yeah, it's just freed me to enjoy the rest of my life. Manna is an incredible, empathic, intuitive person who really understands how the human mind works. She really understands the physiology of people's emotions and people's bodies, and she can help. If you've got any problem, mine happened to be a very traumatic experience. If you've got any problem, Manna can help you with that. I get excited with thinking that people who were suffering like I was suffering could actually be as happy as I am. She's incredible. She's got a talent, the X factor. That's what she's got. She has got X factor.